Exactly 7 years ago, the most terrible cataclysm in the history of mankind occurred, which claimed millions of lives and divided numerous families. There was a terrible catastrophe, which was called the opening of the dungeon. On that day, the monsters killed everyone they saw, and they killed my parents too. Then I was deprived of the most precious thing in the blink of an eye. I swore an oath that day, shedding a sea of bloody tears. I swore to myself that I would become a hunter and tear the monsters to pieces. And now 7 years have passed since that terrible moment that completely changed my life. I got kicked out of the Hunter Training Center. Let me get straight to the point. From tomorrow, it is not necessary to come to the training center. I stared blankly at the manager before I could regain my composure. Why am I being kicked out? Han Seonggayan Nim, I thought you knew why we're kicking you out. Keeping you here is becoming too much of a burden for our training center. I have never missed a single payment and I fulfill all the conditions. Yes, of course. Because you're preparing for the hunter's exam. The problem is that it's been 7 years since you started preparing. The manager narrowed his eyes and began to examine my body. Even after 7 years of physical training, you have not been able to learn a single skill or unleash your innate abilities. You weren't even able to raise a single stat point. His harsh response was like a dagger in my heart. As he said, I have not achieved anything in the last 7 years of training. I couldn't unlock any skill, let alone raise a stat point. Crap. And it happened in the center of professional training of players. Everyone who wakes up as a player must train at one of these centers for several months before they can debut as a hunter. But I couldn't do anything during the years that I trained here. To be honest, it is not an exaggeration to say that I will never be able to become a hunter. I had no idea of the fundamental qualifications that even the most basic hunters possess. But I remained calm and asked in a monotonous voice. Is that the reason I got kicked out? To be brief, you are ruining our reputation. And you, the infamous. I was finally able to understand what the manager was trying to say. You're worried about what people will think of a training center that can't get a student to debut after 7 years of training. The manager remained silent, but nodded with a smirk. Yes, I knew that one day it would happen. Damn, let's be honest, you're nothing special. You don't have that inclination. Do you think you'll ever pass the hunter's exam? Do you think things will change after hard work? Nothing. You're wasting your time. His words, full of contempt, pierced my soul. But I couldn't dispute its performance or even strike. After all, a man of average athleticism had no chance against a former hunter. According to him, it was not an exaggeration to call me completely mediocre. I didn't want to suppress those feelings, but I had to. Why? Because I'm weak and I have nothing. I put up with this for so long, but it didn't seem to be necessary anymore. Yes, it was time to put an end to this. I was frazzled. Of course, we are not going to just expel you without compensation. We will refund you about 50% of the commissions you. Why was he still talking? All he did was try to convince me to leave. Yes, I got it. Just give me a 50% refund. Goodbye. When his sentence ended, I walked past him to the exit. I thought he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't stop me. Well, there was nothing to say, and I was not the one who had something to lose by being angry. Wow, he was here long before me, but now he's been kicked out like this. Starting with the observer's comment, I was bombarded with looks from all over the room. But he came every morning to train non-stop. How come? Shit, I feel like crap. He is an idiot that he does not know his place and will stop early. You think so? I think he's pretty stupid for not giving up. I didn't know he couldn't increase a single stat point after 7 years of training. Sympathy, contempt and even ridicule. I didn't know what I did wrong. They looked down on me all 7 years of my training. Whether I heard them or not. They always laughed at the fact that I was powerless as a player. And just like that, my 7 years of training became proof of my stupidity. But I think so. Crap. I muttered to myself as I stepped out of the center and stared up at the sky. 7 years of continuous training. Sigh. Everything ended up being absurdly simple. I didn't always want to be a hunter. It happened during the Great Disaster, when my parents were eaten alive by hordes of monsters from the dungeon. And I was not alone in this matter. But even among these people, only a select few were able to awaken as a player. Even then, I prayed to God to wake me up as a player. That's why I woke up like a player. Just woke up. The problem arose later. No matter what I did, my stats didn't increase and my innate abilities never unlocked. But I did not lose hope and continued to train, because skills are given to those who are ready. After that I trained my heart for 7 years. I did not even hope to reveal my innate abilities. I just wanted to be a little stronger than the average person. My only hope was that one day I could avenge my parents. But the world didn't give me that privilege. And that's where I ended up. I was sitting on a snow-covered park bench, taking a sip from a can of beer. I guess I was stupid 7 years. Even those who lost their families due to escaping from the dungeon didn't make it that far. Or rather, they couldn't. After about 2 years, most people face reality and give up. Either that, or they realize their potential and rise to the top. I couldn't do either. I didn't know that nothing would change even after 7 years. I couldn't help but smile at such an obvious result. At least I tried. No, I did more than just try. Most people face reality and find another path for themselves. But not me. I no longer knew what to do with my life. But after 7 years of not giving up, I wasn't going to start now. I'm not weak enough to think about giving up my life. I put the empty beer can on the bench and looked up at the sky. To mark the end of an era, I decided to chat with my parents. I tried so hard. I wanted to avenge you and kill those monsters, but everything is not going the way I want. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry someone like me is your baby. I felt a little gloomy, but not enough to cry. 7 years was enough to drown out my sadness. As the years passed, the intense pain subsided, and now I am completely numb. There was a time when I had to train all night because pain and sadness kept me awake. At 27, I didn't even want to train anymore. Maybe it was obvious now that I knew I would never be a hunter. That's one of the reasons I didn't put up a fight at the training center. I'd rather end this quickly than sorry. At least I was able to end it on my own terms before anyone else could force me to. After finishing my rambling conversation, I leaned back on the bench and just stared up at the gray sky. I decided to stop being a hunter, but I could not get rid of a strong attachment. If only I had a modicum of talent, or even an innate ability. If I had even a glimmer of hope, I wouldn't give up. My eyes slowly closed, as did my wishful thinking. Still stunned, I see what appears to be a holographic message before my eyes. Test Tower praises your unwavering will. The first thing I saw in a dream was someone's praise. Who is this? I had questions, but I did not have time to continue these thoughts. The Test Tower has selected all eligible candidates from Earth. Please select your difficulty. The difficulty you choose will be directly proportional to your rewards. At the end of the message, 3 options appeared in front of me: easy, medium, difficult. I didn't find anything out of place even though I looked at the holographic message. A strange feeling of being on the border of consciousness and unconsciousness. Instead of questioning the circumstances, I could only think to make a decision. Make a choice. A choice I wouldn't regret if I reached out. Seduced, I held out my hand as if I had no other choice. After you have selected the difficulty of hard, we wish the applicant a successful completion of their selection. Wow. The message vanished like a tiny candlelight, and my mind cleared. I am fully awake. You are now entering the first floor of the Tower of Trials. The applicants must now prepare for the upcoming test. I just realized that something strange was going on. Tower of Trial entrance, floor 1. My environment has changed from a park bench to a desert. The test on the ground floor is about to begin. The following test is a special test conducted as a tutorial. The goal of the next trial is to survive. We wish the applicant a successful completion of their selection. At that moment I knew. Successful trial reward, innate ability unlock. Penalty for failing the test is death. If there was a turning point in my life, it would be him. All stats, skills, and innate abilities have been reset to their initial values. The next challenger's stats are already equal to the starting values, stopping the reboot process. At first, I just stared blankly at the holographic message. But the practice test begins. The message about trial test came out of nowhere. As soon as I saw this message, I felt a wave of warmth leave my body. What's happening? What it is? Starting with the most basic questions about my current state of affairs. Test Tower? Is this the second coming of the Great Tribulation? I even stipulated what the current situation might be. A stream of thoughts ricocheted off my throbbing head. But even that was temporary. Giving weapons. Clats. After reporting the weapon, a sword fell in front of me, one with a pointed edge, unlike the wooden ones I used at the training center. The length of the knife was about 30 inches. What's happened? No can of beer could have made me so drunk. While it's almost non-existent, my tolerance for alcohol increased when I woke up as a player. But it can't be that it makes me dream like that. I quickly looked around and analyzed my surroundings. The place where I stood was no longer a bench in a winter park, but more of a random desert. No, can you even call it a desert? The place was covered with sand and sparse rows of cacti. Although it seemed normal at first glance, the boundary where the sky met the horizon suggested otherwise. It was huge and spacious, but clearly synthetic. If it was a dungeon, I would have to go through the gate, so that's impossible. When I was close to falling into a state of confusion, a sand golem appears. Kuum. What the? The sandy floor shook, and columns of sand rose from the ground. The pillars then began to come together to form a humanoid shape. The towering golem must have been at least 20 feet tall. My heart stopped as the golem looked at me with its crimson eyes dripping with sand. At the same time, another holographic message appeared. Survive the sand golem. Remaining time 9 minutes 59 seconds. Grr. A test telling me to survive. And all the unanswered questions in my head. Everything seemed to come together as soon as I came face to face with the sand golem. I couldn't pretend to be ignorant even if I tried. Damn it. I quickly picked up the sword from the floor and ran as fast as I could. Battle? Impossible given our size difference. Even a scratch from a sand golem is enough to kill a grown man in an instant. A low-level player like me wouldn't do much better. This is reality. Top, 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 ka. Every hair on my back stood on end as its roar pierced my body. I wanted to run faster, but I couldn't. Top, top. My feet were buried under a pile of sand every time I took a step forward. Fuck, fuck, fuck. The desert held me captive. At the same time, the stomping sound was approaching faster than my legs could move. Even if I managed to escape, the only thing that was waiting for me was a wall that stretched to the sky. I'll either die if they catch up with me, or I'll get to the end of this field. It may not even be possible to escape from this place. My only hope was a time limit that I could look out of the corner of my eye. Remaining time 9 minutes 12 seconds. With my stamina, it's impossible to keep running for another 9 minutes. I might have had a chance if I had a slightly higher score, but I can't keep running until the timer runs out too. I should have known what they wanted as soon as they provided the sword. Die on the run or turn around and fight. As I ran, I kept looking back at the golem. Damn it, how am I supposed to beat this? But I had no other choice. There was no way the sword could do anything to the golem. But I have to fight. If running wasn't the solution, then another breakthrough had to happen. I used every possible knowledge I had about sand golems. One thing I have gained in the last 7 years of training is an abundance of theory that even the most experienced hunters can match. There must have been at least one method that would apply to this situation. Monsters like golems stop moving when you break their cores. And low-level monsters like sand golems don't even hide their cores in their bodies. They are ranked as A-rank monsters because they store their core on the outer layer of their body. I could see the scarlet core protruding from his body, but I didn't have the courage to get so close to him. Even if I could get close, it was obvious how much damage this sword would do to that core. No, I did not know if this sword could even leave its saw on him Rapin. Despite this, I have to go. Looking back, it seemed to me that the golem was about 50 feet away from me. Will I be able to lunge at the golem and dodge its attacks? No, I couldn't think so. Thinking about more would not make this situation any easier. I have to dodge this. Whistling. Having made up my mind, I ran towards the golem. 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. The closer I got, the more I felt the physical difference between us. The giant E-rank monster made my heart ache just by looking at it. I almost threw up, but I kept running. The only other monster I ever encountered was the little goblin in the hunter's exam. I had no other choice but to succeed now. I kept my eyes on the golem as I approached the base of its foot. 1. The monster's rough hand sliced through the air and accelerated towards me. The attack is strong enough to immediately tear me to shreds. I stared straight at him and jumped in his path. When the colossal hand reached my face, I slid right under it and barely managed to dodge it. Buck. Sand splattered all over the place as it followed the violent roar of impact. Due to its huge size, there were huge delays between each of its movements. By the time I figured it out, I was already running. My body knew about it even before my head. I had to plunge this sword into the heart of the golem if I wanted to live. I nimbly approached the core while the golem was still trying to regain its position from the last attack. Clank. The tip of the sword rang as it touched the golem's core. Certainly, the golem's core would not have been destroyed by such a blow. Crack. There was a small fracture in the core. Whistling. Gra. The golem was on its way to strike a second blow. When my eyes caught him, I rushed out without having time to react. Shah. Then, whistling. The next blow nearly landed on the top of my head. Pure luck. There was nothing else to describe it. I didn't stop even though the sand had stripped all the skin off my leg. Please. Please stop. The moment the sword hit the core. Crack. The core of the sand golem has been destroyed. A system message blocked my view as the light in the golem's crimson eyes dimmed. When they faded, the golem's body turned back into a pile of sand. Schwa. Remaining time 7 minutes 8 seconds. The practice test is over. I fainted as soon as I saw the message. Oh. My legs burned as the sand crawled into my scratched skin, and my hands couldn't stop shaking. My lungs seemed about to burst, and my leg continued to bleed. But for some reason, I felt an adrenaline rush that I had never experienced before. A feeling of victory that I haven't experienced in 7 years. I was able to understand what really happened only after I caught my breath. I killed the sand golem? Someone who couldn't even hope to kill an F-rank monster, managed to kill an E-rank monster when his life was in danger. But I fell back into depression after looking back at what had happened. I barely managed to survive. If it was another A-rank monster, I would have died within 3 minutes. Sand golems are slow and have a distinct weakness. If it was a slightly stronger player, it would be an easy lesson. It didn't matter. I survived. It was reality. When I finally felt a wave of relief. Congratulations. You have cleared the first floor of the Tower of Trials, The message continued after congratulations. As a reward, you received the innate ability unlock. You have received 1000 points as a reward. As a bonus reward, you received the skill Accelerated Regeneration E+. As a bonus reward, you received 500 points. I finally remembered the message I saw when I first entered this field. It actually said that. Reward for success in the test, unleashing innate abilities. At the time, I couldn't process it properly, but there was definitely a reward. And, innate ability. It was something that I couldn't even imagine discovering in the last 7 years, let alone an extra skill reward. I couldn't even increase my score after 7 years of training. I was even more stunned now than when I first entered the tower. The next couple of messages seemed to confirm what had just happened. Innate ability unlocked. Innate ability Necromancy F has been imprinted on the player. I defeated a monster for the first time in my life and was able to see progress that had been stopped for 7 years. There were feelings that I could not even describe in words, but it did not last long. Like he didn't want to give me time to think. Please go to the waiting area. 1. In the place where the golem's body once stood, a blue portal appeared. I think that I should have gone to waiting room using this. That alone explained a lot. Is this really a tutorial? Dungeons unlock after they've been completed, but that doesn't seem to be the case for the Tower of Trials. I could no longer deny my reality. Activation of the innate ability Necromancy F. You want to absorb the soul of the sand golem? Not really, At first I was puzzled by the series of messages, but I began to understand its essence. An ability that I never had, but others used naturally, as if it were part of their body. Awareness of my innate abilities. I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with emotion when I realized that my innate abilities were revealed after 7 years. Take it easy. Take it easy. I shouldn't lose my temper just because I unlocked an ability. It's too early for celebrations. I needed to stay balanced. More than excruciating pain all over my body, I was mentally exhausted. I just needed to understand the basics and move into the waiting area. So this black mist is my innate ability. Phew. I waved my hands, but nothing happened. Has the meaning? If it really was due to my innate abilities, the smoke wouldn't just disappear with a wave of my hand. Then I had to make sure. Han Sung Yin. Strength 9, Stamina 9, Agility 8, Mana 8. Innate ability, Necromancy F. Skill, Accelerated Regeneration E+. The status window, which I hadn't opened in a long time, looked almost unrecognizable. There is a brand new section showing off my innate ability. The skill list also shows accelerated regeneration E+, instead of being empty. Of course, the stats haven't changed yet, but the most important part was unlocking innate abilities. I clicked on the option to display additional details. Innate ability, Necromancy F. Knowledge 0%. Basic effect is the ability to absorb the souls of the dead and manipulate them at will. Bonus effect, 1. Able to permanently increase stats depending on the nature and rank of the soul. Bonus effect, 2. Ability to store souls for later use. On the rank of the ability. Holy shit. The reward for which I risked my life was worth it. And the effect that mentioned permanent increase in my stats. I couldn't help but curse when I saw this. My stats didn't improve no matter how much I trained. But, finally I can increase my stats. This must be what it means to win the lottery. I moved on and clicked Fast Regeneration. Skill, Accelerated Regeneration E+. Knowledge 0%. Effect, the ability to quickly recover from non-life-threatening injuries. My first skill wasn't ordinary either. All regeneration type skills were very rare. Skills that could heal in the middle of a battle usually had impossible acquisition conditions. I heard that only hunters who have been through countless life and death battles can acquire it. But I got it in one fight. If it's a reward level from the first floor, how good will it be on the upper floors? And how dangerous would that be? I don't have any possible information, but the tower probably doesn't give those skills out of the goodness of their heart. The only reason I got them to start with was because I won the sand golem battle. The risk I took to acquire these skills was simple: death. This was made clear from the very beginning in the holographic messages. My innate ability was the reward for passing this test. The alternative was death. High risk, high reward. It was a system created by the Tower of Testing. The higher I rise, the more risky these tests will be. Crap. No matter how good the reward was, failure could result in instant death. And unlike a dungeon, you can't escape by clearing it. Quite inhospitable for a tower owner. It was an insane risk that no sane person would take. I wanted to become a hunter because I was tired of powerlessness and wanted to avenge my parents. But it will all be useless if I die. I didn't want to keep fighting this risk. Since I also discovered my innate abilities, I had even less reason to continue taking risks. I could become a hunter if I came back with this skill. But I will achieve this goal only if I survive. This means that I need to learn how to use all the resources provided. I stood up and agreed to the message about the absorption of the soul. You have absorbed the soul of a sand golem. Number of souls in possession 1/5. Mastery increased by 7%. At the same time, a black mist entered my body. It was a strange feeling. I somehow know exactly how to use my innate abilities. I knew that I could improve my performance just by wishing for it at any time. This is probably how all the other hunters felt when they discovered their innate abilities. I was a little behind. Constantly improve your characteristics using souls in captivity. Strength increased by 3, stamina increased by 2, number of souls in possession 0/5. A weight was lifted from my shoulders, and my entire body felt energized. An unknown pleasant feeling swept over my body, but there is no need to try it now. I was still injured, so I didn't want to check right away. Then I headed towards the portal where the golem once stood. The moment I got to the portal, go to the waiting room. My environment has changed again. 1. The first thing I saw was a rectangular stone room. You have entered the waiting room on the second floor. Cure all injuries and status ailments. The healing effect is constantly applied in the waiting room. Messages appeared in the air and my injuries began to fade. It's not that surprising anymore. I think I'm starting to get used to it. When my pain was completely gone, I checked my body. As the message says, all my injuries are gone. As if my battle with the sand golem was just a dream. No, though. Just one look at my clothes could show that this is not the case. As if the tower wanted to do the bare minimum, it left my clothes in tatters while I was being treated. I shook off the sand that had stuck to my clothes. I guess some sand got into my mouth because my throat was itchy. At least they heal your body after the ordeal is over. One less problem. When I calmed down enough, I began to notice more things in my environment. The place is really spacious, but it feels so empty. Even if it was supposed to be a waiting area, the only word to describe it was desert. But they had a bed in the corner. It doesn't look good. I should be grateful that they even had a bed. Slap. My head filled with thoughts as I stared up at the ceiling. What should I do now? Can I escape from here? My future looked bleak. For what purpose have I been called here? But I don't understand. I answered all my questions with I don't know, or I can't help it. I didn't even know what would happen on this floor, let alone if I could get back to Earth. Everything was possible. As I lay and let my thoughts wander, tutorial trials of all difficulty levels have been completed. Activation of the test tower system. When the message appeared, a line of text appeared. Now you can use these commands. Information, marketplace, community, inventory, challenge commands will be executed when you say them. After that, the message is stopped. This completely broke my train of thought. Yet, I need to pull myself together. Now I could not change anything in my situation. I just needed to learn more about this tower and how I can survive. I was contemplating my next steps in bed when I finally opened my mouth. Trial. If the second trial is anything like the first, I could die. Even with the extra stats from the soul I had absorbed, I was hardly an F-rank player. My abilities have not yet surpassed those of an ordinary person. I needed something with which I could protect myself. As the lowest rated player, I had to rely on equipment. I don't think the sword will be enough. I have tried different weapons over the past 7 years, so I knew how to handle most weapons. There was no real reason to choose another weapon and throw away this sword. Jack of all trades, but he doesn't know how to do anything. My mediocrity was no exception, even when it came to weapons. It's the same with techniques that only use my body. The spear may be suitable for a beginner, but there's no reason to spend points to get it. At the very least, I needed something protective to increase my chances of survival, preferably something that can block or deflect attacks. My body didn't have the structure to withstand repeated blows from the monsters. Marketplace. I thought for an hour before making a decision. The base sword was about 30 inches long, not too short. I had some experience with the sword and shield at the training center, so I decided to buy a shield. It may seem simple, but it was a good combination that worked well together. Even experienced hunters used a sword or spear in combination with a shield. I didn't look for long until I found one reasonably similar to the one I used before. The closer it is to the training shield, the more I'm used to it. Just in case, I'll keep practicing. You have bought a rough dwarven shield. Deduct 700 points. Balance 800. Expensive, but made from quality wood. People may think that wooden shields are weak, but this is not always the case. Rough dwarven shield. Rating, E. A one-handed shield crafted by a rookie dwarf. Surrounded by a layer of metal, it is stronger than it looks. The Great Catastrophe changed everything. Such fragile-looking shields were light and strong due to their high rank. They surpassed everything that was done before the natural disaster. In real life, it costs at least $30,000. My sense of money has dulled a bit. That's because I just got my hands on something that even officially registered hunters couldn't get. I guess it didn't matter because I couldn't even take it with me. Reassured, I took up a stance with my new shield. My posture was pretty decent. I guess the training wasn't so useless after all. Now the equipment is much lighter because my stats have increased. It was the best state in the cat orm I have ever been. It helped that I also bought a shield, which I'm pretty used to. After testing, I put down my sword and shield to review the market again. The admin said that everything should be bought for points. This means that I also needed to get smaller things. There seemed to be enough variety on the market to find what I was looking for. If I were an ordinary civilian, I would have problems choosing what to buy. Anyway, Potion of Strength. Rating, F. A special potion that restores a small amount of strength. Slightly relieves fatigue. Potion of Regeneration. Rating, F. Potion to heal injuries. Only minor external wounds. Old Throwing Knife. Rating, F. An old throwing knife with dull edges. So old that it can be destroyed on contact. All the things I wanted were in the store, so I didn't hesitate. I only bought things that I needed in an emergency. Ones that can enhance the use of my powers. Balance 375. I had enough points to buy some food. That should be enough to fill you up for a little while. A strength potion could help me endure long fights, and a regeneration potion could help in emergencies. The throwing knife was intended for unexpected situations. As someone who has been looking at hunters for 7 years, this was probably my best bet. I think that's enough combat gear for now. Not knowing what to do next, I quickly came up with an answer. There was still a long time before the next test, so I need to take this time to get used to the weapon. I'm still not used to the sword, and the shield was a little different from what I'm used to. If I can't get used to them, it will cost me my life in battle. Both my mind and body were in great shape due to the healing effects. And even if I do get tired from training, the waiting area will quickly restore me. The obvious choice would be to warm up for the next challenge. Second floor community 3928/4321. Level 2 challenge begins 20 hours, 53 minutes. Out of the corner of my eye, I shifted the community and start time. I had to keep an eye on these windows even during training. There might be some useful information here. After the admin left, the situation calmed down a bit, and the community seemed to come to its senses. But that thought quickly went away after seeing the following posts. Kang Seong-woo, shit. I can't use a sword or shield because all my skills are gone. Damn. Lee Heejin, me too. I am a magician and don't know what to do without any skills. Kim Sun-hoon, I don't care. I just hate how low my stats are right now. Lee Seung-jin, I got my skill but I need to upgrade it again. A curse. Oh Junsuk, at least you hunters know what to do. What should normal people like me do? Can I go through the second floor at all? Kang Seong-woo, I don't know. But you should buy a sword or spear with a shield and practice as much as possible. Lee Seung-jin, damn it. If I had the skills, I wouldn't have to do this. That shitty admin. There was not much difference between the messages. Anxiety, nervousness and despair. None of what they said even applied to me. I was neither a hunter nor a civilian. I think my lack of talent helped me somehow. Because I was no different than when I was outside the tower. No, I grew up in a tower. Maybe it was the blessing I received in the last 7 years of suffering. Let's think positive. In fact, the only thing I could do here was train. The characteristics were there even now, when everything was reset. But there was still a difference. They will be able to learn previously acquired skills and improve their skills much faster than me. If I want to catch up, I need to keep training. My growth will directly affect my survival. You have to train 2 or 3 times harder than everyone else. So at least I can stand side by side with them. I have to move my body until it can react before my brain can tell it what we are doing. I was a different person than the one who wanted to give up just a few hours ago. Innate abilities, skills, characteristics, etc. I have acquired so many things in the last couple of hours and have lost the will to give up. If I can adapt, improvise and win, I can become a hunter. My days of impotence are over. If I live, I can have everything I ever dreamed of. No, I can get more. The tower was not a place where I could die a futile death. Challenges will give me rewards and I will start earning points. It could make me stronger and maybe show me the way out of this tower. My first goal was obvious. Pass the second test. And if the tower wanted it, I would have done it. It was the best state I have ever been in. It helped that I also bought a shield, which I'm pretty used to. After testing, I put down my sword and shield to review the market again. The admin said that everything should be bought for points. This means that I also needed to get smaller things. There seemed to be enough variety on the market to find what I was looking for. If I were an ordinary civilian, I would have problems choosing what to buy. Anyway, Potion of Strength. Rating, F. A special potion that restores a small amount of strength. Slightly relieves fatigue. Potion of Regeneration. Rating, F. Potion to heal injuries. Only minor external wounds. Old throwing knife. Rating, F. An old throwing knife with dull edges. So old that it can be destroyed on contact. All the things I wanted were in the store so I didn't hesitate. I only bought things that I needed in an emergency. Ones that can enhance the use of my powers. Balance 375. I had enough points to buy some food. That should be enough to fill you up for a little while. A strength potion could help me endure long fights, and a regeneration potion could help in emergencies. The throwing knife was intended for unexpected situations. As someone who has been looking at hunters for 7 years, this was probably my best bet. I think that's enough combat gear for now. Not knowing what to do next, I quickly came up with an answer. There was still a long time before the next test, so I need to take this time to get used to the weapon. I'm still not used to the sword, and the shield was a little different from what I'm used to. If I can't get used to them, it will cost me my life in battle. Both my mind and body were in great shape due to the healing effects. And even if I do get tired from training, the waiting area will quickly restore me. The obvious choice would be to warm up for the next challenge. Second floor community 3928/4321. Level 2 challenge begins 20 hours, 53 minutes. Out of the corner of my eye, I shifted the community and start time. I had to keep an eye on these windows even during training. There might be some useful information here. After the admin left, the situation calmed down a bit, and the community seemed to come to its senses. But that thought quickly went away after seeing the following posts. Kang Seong-woo, shit. I can't use a sword or shield because all my skills are gone. Damn. Lee Heejin, me too. I am a magician and don't know what to do without any skills. Kim Sun-hoon, I don't care. I just hate how low my stats are right now. Lee Seung-jin, I got my skill but I need to upgrade it again. A curse. Oh Junsuk, at least you hunters know what to do. What should normal people like me do? Can I go through the second floor at all? Kang Seong-woo, I don't know. But you should buy a sword or spear with a shield and practice as much as possible. Lee Seung-jin, damn it. If I had the skills, I wouldn't have to do this. That's shitty admin. There was not much difference between the messages. Anxiety, nervousness and despair. None of what they said even applied to me. I was neither a hunter nor a civilian. I think my lack of talent helped me somehow. Because I was no different than when I was outside the tower. No, I grew up in a tower. Maybe it was the blessing I received in the last 7 years of suffering. Let's think positive. In fact, the only thing I could do here was train. The characteristics were there even now, when everything was reset. But there was still a difference. They will be able to learn previously acquired skills and improve their skills much faster than me. If I want to catch up, I need to keep training. My growth will directly affect my survival. You have to train 2 or 3 times harder than everyone else. So at least I can stand side by side with them. I have to move my body until it can react before my brain can tell it what we are doing. I was a different person than the one who wanted to give up just a few hours ago. Innate abilities, skills, characteristics, etc. I have acquired so many things in the last couple of hours and have lost the will to give up. If I can adapt, improvise and win, I can become a hunter. My days of impotence are over. If I live, I can have everything I ever dreamed of. No, I can get more. The tower was not a place where I could die a futile death. Challenges will give me rewards and I will start earning points. It could make me stronger and maybe show me the way out of this tower. My first goal was obvious. Pass the second test. And if the tower wanted it, I would have done it. Level 2 challenge start 1 hour 47 minutes. Kang Seong-woo, hey. I just woke up from the best sleep. Oh Junsuk, phew, my body hurts from sleeping on this cheap bed. Hyuk Sukjin, I mean, you can just buy a good one from the market. Oh Junsuk, I'd rather get a good bowl of soup and rice for that kind of money. Hyuk Sukjin, damn, you made me hungry. Oh Junsuk, we don't have any other options. Why am I still hungry? Kang Sung-woo, now you are really talking about food. Just buy jerky at the market. It's the cheapest thing you can buy. Oh Junsuk, good advice. Click. It is time. I stretched, looking at the community. It's been 20 hours since I've been training and waiting. I have learned a lot during this time. The cheapest food on the market and how the waiting area works. I learned the most about the waiting area. In this area, you can't feel most biological urges other than hunger. I also learned that healing in the area is not all powerful. You can't call it healing. As an experiment, I recently cut my hand and the spilled blood returned to my wound before closing. Spilled blood returning to where it came from is not healed. It's closer to recovery. However, this doesn't take you back to when you weren't hungry. This means that you can die of hunger. I also learned how to turn healing on and off. Nothing else was particularly useful. I haven't tried them yet because they cost points. Turning healing on and off costs 100 points. Since I only have 373 points, I have to limit my spending. Although, when I get enough points, I'll have to try them out. I finished my train of thought and bought jerky. Crumb crumb. It's tough and tasteless. I had a hard time eating jerky that didn't even have salt in it. But at 10 points apiece, it was the most efficient use of the points. Something cheaper could hardly be consumed by people. They said that one should not even chew black bread made from flour and sand, as well as other cheaper products. It wasn't exactly edible, just something to fill your stomach with. I couldn't survive on that. So jerky was the best choice at the moment. As I continued to chew it, I bought some water and first aid supplies. I had to be ready for anything. Remaining 40 points. I have almost nothing left. I wouldn't have anything if I didn't get the bonus. I could tell that it was by looking at the community. Lee Heejin, I can't buy medicine because I don't have glasses. Why is magic equipment so expensive? Kim Sun-hun, magic is always expensive. Hyuk Sukjin, am I the only one who received a bonus award? I got a decent amount of points for this. Kim Sun-hun, I got one. It turned out to be a skill, not points. Do you too? Oh Junsuk, I haven't heard anything like that. Did you give the admin money or what? Lee Heejin, huh? I didn't understand either. Only a small minority received the award. Most people in the community seem to be hearing about the bonus being awarded for the first time. Does it depend on how well you did in training? Everyone who received a bonus reward said that they only received points or a skill. But I have both. There may have been special requirements to receive bonus rewards. For example, if you killed an enemy when the goal of the challenge was to survive. Maybe that's why I got 2 bonus awards. This means that I needed to find out what those requirements were in the upcoming trials. I needed to understand if I wanted to gain an advantage over other people climbing the tower. The difficulty I chose was also the highest of the 3. If an A-ranked monster appears in the tutorial, it will most likely only get worse. It's good that I trained without a break. I felt like the sword and shield were part of my body. At this point, even a sand golem shouldn't be a big problem for me. I now have a shield. Putting all the equipment in my inventory, I checked the time. Level 2 challenge start 17 minutes 17 seconds. Quite a lot of time passed while I practiced and looked through the market. Messages in the community have also slowed down. Oh Junsuk, training was hard as hell. How hard will the second floor be? Hyuk Sukjin, do I need to wake up or what? I just want to go home. Kim Sun-hun, stop peeing in your pants and get ready to fight. Lee Jin-woo, fuck, I really don't want to go. Why did I choose the most difficult one? Can it be changed? Hyuk Sukjin, would you release a fish after it took the bait? Oh Junsuk, you're right. I wouldn't let that dumbass get away. The community looked grim as the timer ticked down. I was no exception. Will I survive? My hand was trembling and my heart was beating fast at the mere thought of the upcoming battle. If I didn't fight, the only thing left for me would be natural selection. At the end of this path, there was a nameless death without honor fought for survival. Test of floor 2 will start in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7. While the clock ticked down, the congregation remained silent. There was a calm before the storm. And, test of floor 2 will start in 0 seconds. Time is over. Quotation mark. When the time is up, trial. I issued the command immediately. Do you agree with the test on the second floor? Not really. I chose Y without hesitation, and the same portal from yesterday appeared. I entered without thinking, and the portal enveloped my body. Because if I hesitated now, I might never be able to step forward. Let's go to Tower of Trial entrance, floor 2. Difficulty, difficult. The target of the next test is assassination. We wish the applicant a successful completion of their selection forest. On the other side of the portal, I was met by a lush green forest. The test on the second floor begins. Remaining time 3 days. The test success condition is to kill the orc leader before the timer expires. Test failure condition is challenger death or timeout. Successful trial reward, Assassin's Cloak, D, Obsidian Dagger, E+, penalty for failing the challenge is death. Murder. Looks like the second floor mission is murder. I have to kill the monster. I have never done it and never thought about it. I mean, what hunter hasn't killed a monster? They just come and kill them. Nobody plans a crime. It probably happened once or twice, but not very common. However, that didn't bother me much. It didn't change what I needed to do. Whatever they want. Here's how this tower works. After opening the second floor challenge map, Indicate the location of the orc tribe on the map. After the message, a card popped up in the corner of my eye. I thought the difficult task would be merciless. I think the tower had a share of conscience. Looking at the map, I realized why I need it. An unknown place in the middle of the forest. Without a map, it would take a week to find them. The tower did not consider the location of the orcs as part of the challenge. It eliminates the need to explore the forest. This has already been a huge positive. I had food and water in my inventory for a couple of days, so I didn't have to worry about that either. I had a few emergency potions prepared and a lot of things. Let's go too. I moved slowly with sword and shield in hand. About halfway to the marked spot, I lay down and crawled. I can't call it a hunter's strategy, but this is what I came up with after some thought. Orcs might have seen me if they had scouts. If the trials were simulating dungeons, that was entirely possible. It would be difficult to avoid scouts unless you have a special item or skill, although a normal hunter will certainly have one. Since I had neither, this was my best bet. I have to be careful if I don't want to get caught. I ducked and crawled forward. Sheik, sheik. My body froze as the sound reached my ears. Breath of an great beast, orc, comma. With a slight hesitation, I continued walking forward. Further ahead, a stage opened over the edge of the grass. Roughly sharpened wooden fence and two monsters guarding it. Orc guard. The breath I heard earlier was probably also from the guard. Sheik. Covered in leather armor, armed with a two-handed sword, they look cool. I want to keep watching them, but since I've finished my exam, I have to step back and strategize. If an orc guard finds me, I will be forced to fight, and it reduces my chances of survival. I slowly walked away from their village and stood up to take a look around. Now that I had found the orcs, I needed a place to watch them without getting caught. The mana is dense enough to hold the monsters in this humidity. It should be here. Sky Mud. Rating, F. Only 12 hours and has a terrible stench. Found this. I think it's here. I've only heard of dirt combined with mana in dungeons. The tower really was very similar to the dungeons. Here I can also use my knowledge. Scooping mud from a nearby puddle, I covered myself with mud. The smell reminded me of a rotting piece of meat, but it didn't matter. I didn't know about other monsters, but that would be enough to get past the orcs. Monsters like goblins and orcs can't detect you outside of this mud. Now what should I do? Usually, if orc guards go to a dungeon, it means that there will be hunters and workers. Guards, hunters, workers and boss. Orcs had clear and distinct roles. Orcs who can coordinate at least E rank. This is not a level that I can easily pass. I can't beat him even if I risk my life. As long as the orc hunters were together, I could never defeat them. You need an A-ranked group to kill the orcs, so I can't do it alone. Objectively, since I was physically weak, I had no chance of winning a direct skirmish. The only thing that could work for me was my innate ability, but even that won't work if I don't kill him. How can I kill the leader? At that moment, something crazy popped into my head. No, there is a way out. As long as I don't limit my goal to just the boss. There is a way out. To kill all the orcs. Attention. This translation may not be ready yet. I couldn't beat them. And although the goal of the test was murder, it was almost impossible with the guards on duty. Heavenly dirt would not change that fact. Given the ridiculously short time frame, I can't see anything. BRSH. A lit torch that I made by stacking some dry planks off the floor. I nervously stared at the dancing flame before putting it into my inventory. I didn't know how the inventory works, but the torch kept burning while inside the inventory. But this did not mean that the torch was burning. If I was free, I would make good money. I would join a guild and work as a security guard for important items or even as a transporter. The tower gave such skills for free. Let's focus on the current situation for now. I held my breath in anticipation. Just by throwing this torch, the whole forest would be set on fire. This was the crazy method I thought of. If this was a place created by the tower, I didn't have to worry about the consequences of setting the forest on fire. And even if this place existed in real life, it wouldn't matter to me if I went back to the waiting area. Some might say it was irresponsible, but I had no responsibility to take care of this place. My life was more important, whatever it was. I didn't even feel guilty. After I started the fire, I would have to separate the orcs one by one. Once I raise my stats using orc souls, I will have a much better chance against the warchief. I could think of this plan in more detail, but it wouldn't matter. There is no other way out for this test. Why should I hesitate? Although it was strange that the purpose of the test was murder, it is very difficult to complete. The fence seemed to be very strong, and due to the large number of orcs, it was difficult to get inside regardless of the time of day. I won't even be able to escape if I fail the assassination attempt. It would be too risky to try to get inside. But starting a fire was different. All orc hunters go hunting early in the morning. Contrary to their appearance, they were a hard-working species, and one of the characteristic features of this kind of orcs is that after they left, they did not return to their tribe until the sun went down. Looking at the sun, it should be around noon now. Now they should be far enough away from their village. I will be able to fight them without their main source of power. Since part of their armed forces was missing, my chances of repelling them increased dramatically. It was just a stereotype that all orcs could fight. Even the same type of monster has a rating. Orc workers were assigned as workers because they weren't fit to fight. And guardian orcs are orcs that aren't good enough to be hunter orcs. The number of guards ahead in the scale of the fence suggests that there aren't many of them. According to conservative estimates, 2 or 3 guardians and only 1 old orc should be their leader. The Hunters Association has released an official statement saying that the oldest orc becomes the chief of the tribe, so this information must be accurate. If I could cause a commotion while most of their military power was out, I would have a chance to destroy them. I just need to stay calm and reduce their numbers. It would change the course of the battle. This meant that I had to kill at least 2 or 3 orcs while they were confused. I'm not strong enough to fight them at the gate. I need to raise my powers to at least 20. If I had had enough strength to go head-to-head with an orc, things would have gone much more smoothly. There was a chance that the orcs would group together, but the chances of that were slim. They usually take some water if they think they can handle the fire. Most of the orcs would then head to the nearest river or lake for water. The busiest orcs will be the worker orcs, and I could take advantage of this time to kill them as soon as they were far enough from the village. If there is a risk of death, no matter what I do, I must choose the most reliable plan. This has not changed compared to the tutorial. Instead of running around looking for an exit that may or may not exist, I decided to fight the sand golem with this weapon. Because it was more authentic. I was the only one who could lose anything through hesitation. I should have killed before they killed me. I kept all this in mind as I took a step forward. It's time to act. Having finished the preparations, I began to move towards the mark on the map. I don't want to waste time. I lay down on the ground again as I crawled across the grass. I've covered myself with heavenly mud. Caution won't hurt. I only learned about it from books, so this was the first time I put it into practice. One mistake could cost me my life. Sheik sheik. After a while, I again heard the orcs behind the grass. I held my breath as I slowly crawled up. Occasionally I watch wounders, holding their breath. As strong as these guard orcs were, there weren't many of them. They were simply kept near the village as a safety net when the hunters left. They probably think they can resist incursions if a couple of them stay. This was also characteristic of the orcs. According to the Hunters Association, orc guards don't always patrol. They return to the village for lunch and dinner. They don't linger for long, but it's still useful information. There are times when workers patrol instead due to a lack of security, but that doesn't matter to me. Worker orcs were usually much weaker than other types of orcs. If those guards were to run towards the water source, I would just have to take care of them covertly from behind. But until then, I have to remain unnoticed and keep complete silence. After all, the dirt only masked smell and vision. This was the most important part of the plan. Every muscle in my body tensed as I looked around. Just as my legs were about to rest. Sheik, sheik. One of the guards sighed heavily and waved to the other. They saw me. I instinctively opened my inventory to prepare for battle, but I realized that I was wrong. Step, step. Looking exhausted, the guards yawned and retreated to the wooden fence. That's what I was waiting for. I may not have another chance. I quietly got up and chose a spot to set fire to. The tall grass and wooden fence were perfect for spreading the fire. I took out a torch from inventory. Brush. The fire spread to the grass as if it had a life of its own. I took it to the fence and nearby trees to spread it further. Brew. Smoke instantly filled the air. I tossed the torch over to the other side to start another fire. I thought it was too much fire to take 1 or 2 orcs away, but what could I do? More is better than less. I hid behind one of the unaffected trees and waited for their response. Workers should be out soon to get out to deal with this. It's small enough that they rushed to stop it. The spread was rapid, but not to the point where it could not be stopped. After a short wait, "Sheik, Sheik," I heard a panicked scream behind the fence. After that, the orc rushed to the fire. Is it a sentry? No, he was not armed. It was an orc worker. Sheik, Sheik, Sheik. He watched in horror as the flames grew larger. Returning back, he stood there, not knowing what to do next. After I took the first steps towards it, there is no better chance. He's not even a guard who can fight back effectively. I did not think about it and moved according to my plan. Running up to his back, I pushed off the ground and closed the distance. Tat, tat, tat. Sheik. When the orc turned around in panic, hit. Sheik, Sheik, Sheik. I shoved the sword I took out of inventory into his stomach. He couldn't react to it at all. Even without being able to let out such a strong screech, the orc recoiled, letting out voiceless cries. Some may sympathize with the monsters, but I was far from it. It's their fault that my life was ruined. Get it, motherfucker. Instead of feeling guilty or anxious, my heartbeat slowed down. I drew my sword to plunge it right through the heart. No hesitation. Sheik. The orc sighed weakly before being enveloped in a black mist. Yes, that's exactly what I was waiting for. Activation of the innate ability Necromancy F. Would you like to absorb the soul of an orc? Not really. I put the orc corpse down so it wouldn't make any noise and pressed Y. You have consumed the soul of an orc. Number of souls in possession 1/5. Mastery increased by 9%. I traded my soul for stats as soon as I absorbed it. Continuously improve your stats by using captive souls. Strength increased by 4. Agility increased by 2. Number of souls in possession 0/5. I opened the status window when I felt an adrenaline rush. Han Sung Yin. Strength 16, Stamina 11. Agility 11, Mana 8. Innate ability, Necromancy F. Skill, Accelerated Regeneration E+. My strength is approaching 20. My stamina and agility also exceeded 10, and now they are almost 20. Now I can deal with an orc in direct combat. But I didn't have time to rejoice. Neck. This time it was a fully armed orc guard. But I wasn't scared like last time. I wasn't sure if there were 2 orcs there, but he came alone. Feeling happy, I mumbled a word under my breath. Inventory. I took out my shield and stood face to face with the orc. Show time. Surprisingly, it happened in an instant. My enhanced stats played a part in his defeat. But you have consumed the soul of an orc. Number of souls in possession 1/5. Mastery increased by 7%. Puff, puff. Although I took him by surprise, the orc was an orc. I was horrified by all of his attacks and managed to thrust my sword into his neck. Activate skill, Accelerated Regeneration. The small wounds I received during the process have already begun to close. Is this how accelerated regeneration works? My energy disappeared from my body as the wounds disappeared. I didn't know until now, but I finally understood the mechanics of regeneration. As the name suggests, this skill speeds up the healing process of minor injuries by absorbing my life force. Of course, this will not help against life-threatening injuries, but I recovered enough to fight again. I don't need to use any potions, at least not yet needed. I would consider using them if I found myself in a quandary later. Still out of breath, I transmuted the soul into additional stats. Continuously improve your stats by using captive souls. Strength increased by 2. Agility increased by 3. Stamina increased by 4. Number of souls in possession 0/5. Unlike the soul of the worker orc, the soul of the guard also increased my stamina. Due to the additional stats, my body became stronger, and I noticed something. The rate at which my strength increased has dropped. But it was pretty easy to guess why this was happening. My stats started reaching heights where they couldn't easily be increased. It was a pleasant surprise. It simply meant that I was beyond the limits of a normal person. I was breathing heavily as I looked around with sword and shield in hand. In the split second it took to kill these orcs, the fire spread to the entrance and blocked it completely. Fine. This meant that orc hunters could not enter through this entrance. They have a long way to go if they want to get here. Certainly. That applies to me too. I realized that I, too, was in a position from which it is now difficult for me to escape. But I have 2 orc souls. I even killed an orc guard, so it's going better than I planned. Initially, I was worried that the increased stats would be foreign to my body, but it was strangely natural. Maybe it's because my stats aren't too high yet. In any case, it wasn't bad at all. To get used to these new stats, I had to pay a trial. Sheik. 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 A group of orcs emerged from the entrance. In the center of the group was an old orc and defenders, probably the boss. They seemed to recognize me as a threat, as they were armed with bow and arrows, stone swords and spears. Well, it would be weirder if they didn't notice me despite all the commotion I caused. Thank you for coming to me. There were only about 5 opponents, and only 1 out of 5 was working. Orc workers weren't too dangerous, even if they held weapons. So, Tadut. While the orcs were still mastering the situation, I took advantage of this and ran. With my current stats, I had a feeling that I could survive this battle. Sheik. One of the orcs shot me with a bow.